Hello and welcome to this McMorrow family quiz, and I'm going to take you through the 6 different rounds. If you want time to think about your answer, just pause the video, and there's a picture round to start. Later on there's going to be a music round, so let's get started. The first round consists of pictures of entrances and exits of famous buildings around the world. You're going to see these photos, and there are 2 bits of information needed. You need to give the name of the gate, doorway, or the building it belongs to, and you need to name the country that it's in. Okay? And you get 1 point for each of those, which means that altogether, round 1 has a maximum of 20 points available. And if you're doing this together, you can talk about it with your teammates. So, to start off with an example, this is not one of the 10 questions. So, what's that? Well, it's a number 10 Downing Street, and it's in Great Britain. You don't need to give the name of the city, just the country that it is in. Here's another one, which has some importance for the McMorrow family, because it is the homestead of our relative Sean McDermott, and it's in the home village, or nearby the home village of my father and the granddad of much of our family, and that's Kilty Clogher. So the country is Ireland. In the next slide you'll see the pictures, and you may just want to pause and have a look at them and see if you can name the building or arch and the country that they're in. And I'm going to go on to give the answers. This first one, that's the Forbidden City in Beijing in China. The second one, that is the Taj Mahal. It's in Agra in India. This one, it's Machu Picchu, and that's in Peru. This is the gateway to Auschwitz in Poland. That's one of the sites of La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona in Spain. That's the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, and that's in Germany. That's the Grand Palace. It's in Bangkok in Thailand. And that looks like the Pope, and he's at the doorway of St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter's, and that's in the Vatican. The Vatican City is the name of the state. And this one, that's I think Pennsylvania Avenue. It's the White House, and that's in the USA. And finally, that is one of the homes in Hobbiton, and it's in New Zealand, in the countryside near the town of Matamata. Okay, so on to round 2. This time there are 24 points available, and that is because there are 12 questions. 1 question for an event of each month of 2019. So 2 points for a correct answer, giving you the total of 24. So, starting with January, on the 25th of January, in which country did the collapse of a dam owned by the mining company Vale cause the deaths of over 250 people? And this time, I'm going to give you 3 choices, and you need to identify the correct country: Argentina, Brazil, or Colombia. February. On the 12th of February 2019, which country name was added to the world map? Was it North Macedonia, South Sudan, or West Papua? In March, on the 20th, which Central Asian country renamed its capital, formerly known as Astana, to Nur Sultan, in honor of its president, Nur Sultan Nazarbayev, who resigned after 29 years as president? Was it Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, or Uzbekistan? In April, on the 11th, Julian Assange was arrested in London after spending 7 years in the embassy of which South American country? Was it Bolivia, Ecuador, or Venezuela? May. On the 1st of May 2019, in which country did the monarch marry one of his bodyguards, giving her the title Queen Consort? Was it Brunei, Thailand, or Tonga? And in June the 20th, 2019, Donald Trump became the first sitting US president to visit which country? Was that North Korea, Saudi Arabia, or the Vatican? In July, on the 7th, which nation won the Women's FIFA World Cup held in France? Was it Brazil, Sweden, or the United States? And in August, on the 18th, in Iceland, a funeral was held for Okjökull, which was a glacier, an iceberg, or a geyser. On the 23rd of September 2019, which English company with a history dating back to 1841 ceased trading? Was it British Home Stores, Debenhams, or Thomas Cook? In October, on the 11th, Abiy Ahmed, president of which African nation, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize? Was it Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, or Ethiopia? In November, on the 11th, Evo Morales, the president of which South American country, resigned and went into exile? Was it Bolivia, Colombia, or Ecuador? And finally, on the 10th of December 2019, in which European country did Sanna Marin become the world's youngest serving Prime Minister at the age of 34? Was it Denmark, Finland, or Iceland? And you may want to pause. You're welcome to pause the video, but I'm going to go again on to the answers. So in January, that disaster happened in Brazil. In February, we learnt to call that state, previously known as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, as North Macedonia. In March, Nur Sultan became the name of the capital of Kazakhstan. In April, Julian Assange came out of the embassy of Ecuador and was promptly arrested. In May, that was Thailand. And in June, Donald Trump just sort of informally stepped across the border into North Korea. In July, that was the United States. And in August, the funeral was held for Okyuko, which was a glacier which had, it seemed, completely disappeared, presumably owing to climate change. And in September, that was Thomas Cook, which collapsed, leaving thousands of holidaymakers stranded around the world, having to make arrangements and rescue flights being organized, and really quite a chaotic situation. In October, Abiy Ahmed, the president of Ethiopia, won the Nobel Peace Prize. In November, Evo Morales resigned and left Bolivia. And in December, Sanna Marin became the Prime Minister of Finland. So, moving on to round 3, which is word origins. This round, you're going to hear and see 3 English words for each question. And all of these words originally came into English from the same foreign language. Your job is to identify the language which those words came into English from. And you'll be given a choice of 3 languages. You just have to choose one of them. So here's an example. From which language did the words glitch, nosh, and schmooze come into English? Was it Romani, Yiddish, or Urdu? And the correct answer would be Yiddish. But that's just an example. You're going to have 10 of these questions coming up. 2 points for each answer, giving you a maximum points of 20 for this round. So number 1, boss, yacht, and easel. Were they from Swedish, Greek, or Dutch? Now remember, you can pause the video. I'm going to kind of go through at a reasonable pace, but feel free to press pause if you want some more thinking time. Number 2, cousin, niece, and uncle. Came from Greek, Sanskrit, or French into English. Number 3, tycoon, emoji, and sudoku. Were they from Japanese, Chinese, or Korean? Number 4, veranda, avatar, and dinghy came into English from Hindi, Swahili, or Burmese. Number 5, gung-ho, ketchup, and typhoon. Did they come from Urdu, Balinese, or Mandarin? Number 6, cockroach, breeze, suave. Did they come from Italian, French, or Spanish? Number 7, diva, balcony, and cameo. Were they from Italian, French, or Spanish. Number 8, muesli, abseiling, or rucksack. Were they from Icelandic, Danish, or German? Number 9, phony, hooligan, and Tory. Were they from Irish Gaelic, Welsh, or Flemish? And number 10, narc, togs, and pal. Were they from Maori, Romani, or Afrikaans? On to the answers for round 3. The first one, bos, yacht, and ezel, came from Dutch. Ezel means a little donkey. I suppose it's related to the English word ass, meaning donkey. Number 2, cousin, niece, and uncle, came into English from French, Norman French, I suppose. Originally in Old English, Anglo-Saxon culture, they didn't recognize those particular relationships. They had a relationship called sister-son, which was very important. But apparently your brother's son or daughter was nothing special to you. Number 3, tycoon, emoji, and sudoku. Well, they're from Japanese. Number 4, veranda, avatar, and dinghy. They come from Hindi. Number 5, gung-ho, ketchup, and typhoon. They're from Mandarin. Number 6, cockroach, breeze, and suave are from Spanish. Number 7, diva, balcony, and cameo. They're from Italian. Number 8, muesli, abseiling, and rucksack. They're from German. I think that spelling of muesli is probably from Swiss German, Schweizerdeutsch. Number 9, phony, hooligan, and Tory. Well, they came from Irish Gaelic. Phony, I think, means, well, related to the Irish word for ring, and it's, I think, a traditional kind of trick played with a ring. And Tory means outlaw in Irish, and there's a Tory Island off the, I think it's off the north coast. And hooligan is related to the family name Houlihan, and apparently came from a music hall song of the late 1800s. And number 10, narc, togs, and pal. They're from Romani. I believe that narc is the Romani word for nose, and pal is related to the Romani word for brother. So, on to round 4, and these are songs about cities. Now, you're going to hear a bit of a song, and in the title of the song, there is the name of a city. Your job is just to name that city. And secondly, you should name the group or performer. Now, if there are 2 performers, I think we can accept one of them. That's okay. But there are actually 20 different extracts. So for each extract, it's just 1 point. That means you get half a point for naming the city, and the other half is for naming the artist. And in the comment section of this video, I'll put a link where you can listen to the music. Okay? So, if you've got that open, you'll hear an example at the beginning, and that example is the song New York, New York, but you just have to name the city. So the city is New York, and the performer was Frank Sinatra. Okay, so you can do that by yourself. Click on the link and listen to that music. Straight into the answers. Okay, and those are all going to be up on the screen in front of you. The first one is New York again, but this time it's by Sting, that song. Number 2 is the theme song from that film Philadelphia, and the performer Bruce Springsteen. The third one was One Night in Bangkok. I think that was from the soundtrack of the musical Chess, and the performer was Murray Head. Number 4, San Francisco, and Scott McKenzie with the artist there. Number 5, one of Boney M's less well-known hits, I suppose, Belfast. Number 6 is Amarillo, and that was the original version of that song by Tony Christie. Number 7, we're back in New York, and the artist is The Pogues featuring Kirsty MacColl. So, you get half a point for either of those. Number 8, I think, was April in Paris, and that was one of the last recordings made by Billie Holiday. Number 9, that was London's Burning. So the city is London, and the group was The Clash. Number 10, Barcelona by Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballé. 11, the town was Chattanooga, and that was by the Andrews Sisters, that version. Number 12 is Do You Know the Way to San Jose? So the city is San Jose, and that's Dionne Warwick. 13 is Galway Girl, so it's Galway. I mean, it could be the city or the county, but anyway, it's Galway, and the performer there was Ed Sheeran. Number 14, Havana, and the performer was Camila Cabello. 15 was Rio, and it was Duran Duran. 16, that was Night Boat to Cairo, so Cairo's the city, Madness was the group. Number 17, that was St. Louis Blues, so St. Louis is the city, and the performer there was the incomparable Bessie Smith, and Louis Armstrong, equally inimitable, on the trumpet, so I think we can accept either of those. And number 18 was Vienna by Ultravox. 19 was What Made Milwaukee Famous, so Milwaukee, and Rod Stewart was the performer. And number 10 is my little bit of Blackpool Rock with George Formby doing the honours. So, there you are, that's the music round. The next round is actually about me, Martin. And if you don't know me, you're going to have to just guess the answer for this one. And there are 2 points for each answer, 10 questions, so giving a maximum of 20 points for the round. So, at the age of 5, I had to do something in front of Mr. Murphy, who was the head of the Good Shepherd Primary School in Downham, Bromley, Kent. What was it? Did I have to sing a song, dance a jig, or recite the 12 times table? Number 2, my dad, Miles McMorrow, used to do gardening jobs around the neighbourhood, and one of his customers was Claire Kipps, and she'd been a concert pianist in her time and had also written a best-selling book about a pet that she had, and she had this pet, I think, during the Second World War. The song was called Sold for a Farthing. The book was called Sold for a Farthing. And what was that pet? Was it a pet squirrel, a sparrow, or a hedgehog? Number 3. When I was younger, I sometimes used to be called upon to help my brothers with various things, and on one particular evening, I was helping a brother who was doing a bit of carpentry, and that brother managed to slip and stab my arm with a chisel, resulting in quite a bit of blood and a little trip to have stitches at the local hospital. Was that my brother Sean, my brother Miles, or my brother Kevin? Number 4. At school, I used to be a bit of an athlete, and I was chosen somehow to represent the London Borough of Lewisham in the London Schoolboys Championship, and I do recall that I came in 8th place out of 8, but I wasn't so far behind that I couldn't see number 7 ahead of me in the distance. What was the event in which I was chosen? Was it the 400, the 800, or the 3,000 meters steeplechase? Number 5. I had to go and see the Dean on one occasion at St Anne's College, and that was following the visit of one of my brothers. Was that Miles, Patrick, or Michael? Number 6. For some time, I used to have my own little mobile disco. It was named after a hit by Kool and the Gang. What was it called? Celebration, Get Down on It, or Stepping Out? Number 7. My brother Michael left his house to go to university for a while, and I was very happy that I was able to put him in touch with a lovely man called Mr. Okada, and the connection was through someone I knew very well at the time. Who was that? Satsuki, Satsumi, or Natsumi? The clue there is it was a Japanese person. Back in the day, my friend Gavin Smith made a number of movies, sometimes calling upon friends to play certain parts. In one of those, I played the father of a family. Was that Oxford Blues, Killer on the Loose, or Zombie Dawn? Number 9. Last year, 2019, I was privileged to play a role as a judge as part of a panel. And what was the event? Was it the Commonwealth Day speech competition, Kiribati Star Idol, or the International Volunteers Day cleanup? And the last one, looking back over my life, I've travelled around a bit and lived in a few countries. How many other countries, apart from the UK and Ireland, have I spent 3 months or more in? Is that 4, 7, or 10? So, how well do you know me? Again, pause if you want some more thinking time. Phone a friend. Go to the answers. Number 1, I was required to sing Goodbye Johnny Dear in front of the head teacher, something which left me slightly traumatized for several decades. Number 2, the wonderful book about her pet sparrow, Clarence. She had another one later called Timmy. I think she wrote another book about him. Or her. Not sure about the gender of that particular. How do you tell the gender of a sparrow? I'm afraid I'm not quite sure. Perhaps they have different colours, do they? Anyway, number 3. Which of my brothers managed to stab my arm? It was my brother Kevin. It was an accident, he told me. Number 4. Yes, I came 8th in the 800 metres, still set a personal best, even coming in 8th. Number 5. It was my brother Miles who got into a little bit of trouble trying to get his car out of the college, which resulted in a little bit of a conversation between me and the dean the following day. Number 6. It was celebration discos that brought pleasure and satisfaction to dozens of people throughout the 1990s. Number 7. That was Satsuki, who recommended Mr. Okada to my brother Michael. Number 8. That particular film was Zombie Dawn. Number 9. I was on the judging panel for the national singing competition, Kiribati Star Idol. And finally, yes, apparently, looking back, I've been living in 7 different countries. Some of them for longer than others, but anyway, that's the total. So, on to round 6, which is about one of those countries, the country which I'm currently in. And that one will be 2 points for each round, for each question, I mean. And that gives you a maximum of 20 points for the round. Number 1. In 1840, the Crown, the British Crown, I think the representative Hobson, and a number of Maori tribes signed what treaty, considered to be the founding document of our nation? Was that a Waitomo, a Waitangi, or Waikato? Number 2. New Zealand is home to the world's heaviest parrot, a flightless bird, known as what? The hoihoi, the piwakawaka, or the kakapo? Number 3. Which New Zealand city recently, I think that must have been in May or June 2020, removed a statue of its founding father, the person that the city is actually named after? Was that Hamilton, Nelson, or Wellington? Number 4. Who served 3 terms as Prime Minister of New Zealand between 1999 and 2008? Was that Julia Gillard, Jenny Shipley, or Helen Clark? Number 5. Which player holds the record for the number of All Blacks caps? Richie McCaw, Dan Carter, or Kieran Reid? Number 6. The nickname of New Zealand's national netball team. Would that be the Tall Blacks, the Silver Ferns, or the All Whites? Number 7. Please complete this lyric from the song The Most Beautiful Girl in the Room by The Flight of the Conchords. You're so beautiful, you could be a waitress, supermodel, or vampire. Number 8. Which New Zealand studio produces special effects for movies? Is it Pukeko Productions, PJ Arts, or Weta Workshop? Number 9. What is New Zealand's national anthem? Well, technically speaking, God Save the Queen is also accepted as an anthem, but You don't really hear it played as a national anthem nowadays. I've never heard it anyway, as a national anthem of New Zealand, that is. But what is our national anthem? Is it Pokari Kariana, Advance New Zealand Fair, or God Defend New Zealand? And number 10. In the last published census, just over 20,000 Kiwis gave their religious affiliation as what? The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, Jedi, or Iluvatarism, the religion of the good peoples of Middle Earth. So, on to number 1. That's the Treaty of Waitangi. That heavy parrot is the kakapo. The city was called Hamilton, is called Hamilton. Number 4, that was Helen Clark. Number 5, that's Richie McCaw. I think it's 140 something, 148 maybe. The other two, they've also got a heap of caps, but not as many as Richie McCaw. Number 6, that would be the Silver Ferns. The Tall Blacks are the men's basketball team, and the All Whites are the men's soccer team. That line is you could be a waitress, followed up by, I think you could be an air hostess in the 1960s. Number 8, that's Weta Workshop. You can go and visit it, one of the big attractions. I don't think it's actually open at the moment for various reasons, but probably will be opening again soon in Wellington. Miramar, not far from the airport. Number 9, New Zealand's national anthem. That would be God Defend New Zealand. At least that's the English title. Of course, the Australian one is called Advance Australia Fair. And number 10, that would be Jedi. The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster is a thing, but it was only about 5,000 people who went for that one in the census.